Episode 56 IL September 7, 2023. Africa's first climate summit September 4 to 6, 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya. Climate or money? Rosep view: if Africa can move away from burning wood, and turn to real renewables like wind and solar, and if Africa can turn away from logging for the purpose of wood burning, the planet and its air will be cleaner for everyone. Africa's climate potential. The New York Times, September 7, 2023. https://mail.google.com/mail/u/1/number sign inbox/fmfcgzgtwzndvmxfslgvpnjxwgpkxwp excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. Africa has 60% of the world's solar energy potential and almost a third of the minerals that will be needed to electrify transportation and the power grid. Africa produces just a sliver of its electricity with renewable technologies such as wind and solar. 600 million people live in Africa, or about 43% of the continent's population, have little or no access to electricity, according to the International Energy Agency. Clean energy projects are booming almost everywhere in the world, except in Africa. The global financial system generally considers investing in Africa to be too risky. The continent receives just 2% of renewable energy investments around the world, and mostly to Morocco and South Africa. Investors said they plan to spend about $23 billion on solar-powered microgrids, carbon markets, and reforestation, though it was unclear how much of that money represented commitments, as opposed to intentions. Pending reforms at the World Bank and International Monetary Fund could unlock huge sums of money for developing countries at below-market interest rates and with more lenient timelines for repayment. Such loans could also help attract more private capital to climate projects. But similar promises have so far not panned out. Wealthy countries have pledged $100 billion in climate-related financing to the world's least developed nations, but have failed to follow through on their commitments. African leaders seek global taxes for climate change at Nairobi summit. https://www.aljazeera.com/news/2023/9/6/african-leaders-seek-global-taxes-for-climate-change-at-Nairobi-summit. Rosep view of three issues at the first African Climate Summit. 1. Move to renewables in Africa. Kenyan President William Ruto says Africa can move away from carbon-spewing fossil fuels, boasting a young population, vast renewable potential and natural resources. This includes some 40% of global reserves of cobalt, manganese, and platinum crucial for batteries and hydrogen fuel cells. Efforts at the summit to up investment in renewables were given a boost as the Africa Development Bank, AFDB, announced $23 billion in financing for green growth, mitigation and adaptation efforts to the Africa Climate Fund for the next 27 years. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, also pledged $4.5 billion, while Germany committed $482.31 million to help with the development of green energy infrastructure. 2. Your money or my African life. One environmental activist told summit participants on the event's final day that carbon markets are bogus solutions. Protesters are concerned that carbon market purchases by rich nations are a free pass to keep polluting. Carbon markets, in which polluters effectively offset emissions by investing in tree planting or conservation. In Africa's carbon market, the continent earns less than $10 per ton of carbon. Other regions or nations can receive over $100 per ton of carbon. In carbon trading, one credit issued equals 1 ton of carbon dioxide or another greenhouse gas equivalent removed from the atmosphere. The voluntary carbon market, which remains dominant in Africa, has been plagued by integrity and transparency concerns. Environmental groups are concerned carbon markets are a free pass to keep polluting. 3. The Nairobi Declaration. In the Nairobi Declaration, Kenyan President William Ruto proposes new global taxes to international financial institutions to help fund climate change action in a declaration that will form the basis of African nations' negotiating position at November's COP28 summit. The Nairobi Declaration capped the three-day Africa Climate Summit about how to mobilize financing to adapt to extreme weather, conserve natural resources and develop renewable energy in Africa. Ruto focused on Africa's switch to clean energy even as the Africa reels from climate-related disasters. Funding for climate action. Advocates have long called for rich carbon polluters to honor long-standing climate pledges for poorer African nations. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. According to the United Nations, Africa contributes only about 2 to 3% of global emissions but suffers the most from the changing climate. Hundreds of millions lack access to electricity. The International Energy Agency, IEA, says Africa hosts 60% of the world's best solar resources, but only 3% of energy investments. In a report published on Wednesday, the IEA and the AfDB urged donors and development finance institutions to scale up concessional funding to encourage private sector investment in Africa's energy sector. Concessional capital of around $28 billion per year is needed to mobilize $90 billion of private sector investment. One campaign, and the Nature Conservancy, called for immediate action. Africa is preparing for the next United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP28, which is scheduled to take place in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, in December 2023. Heading from event to event doesn't leave us with a lot of constructive thinking time about the best ways to reduce emissions, said the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The Guardian. African leaders call for debt relief to help tackle climate crisis. https://www.theguardian.com/world/2023/SEP/06/African-leaders-call-for-debt-relief-to-help-tackle-climate change. Nairobi Declaration, issued at First Africa Climate Summit, also includes call for global carbon taxes. September 7, 2023. Rozep view of three issues at the First African Climate Summit. 1. Move to renewables in Africa. The summit's call for the continent to pursue a green growth pathway received wide support among leaders and climate groups. Renewable energy could be the African miracle, but we must make it happen. We must all work together for Africa to become a renewable energy superpower, Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary-General, told the conference. UAE, the country hosting the upcoming COP28 summit in November, pledged $4.5 billion, £3.5 billion, to boost renewable energy in Africa. 2. Protesters of carbon markets were at the summit. Campaign groups also opposed leaders' plans to scale up carbon markets projects on the continent, through the African Carbon Markets Initiative launched during COP27 last year. But campaigners raised concerns over the commodification and extraction of Africa's natural resources and greenwashing, and said the projects allowed Western companies and countries to continue polluting. They argued that they were sidelined before and during the conference. 3. Kenya's Special Advisor for Climate Change believes the plans outlined in the declaration will be groundbreaking, and lauded plans to pursue private climate investments more aggressively. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. African leaders have called for debt relief across the continent to allow countries to get on with responding to the climate crisis, as they published the Nairobi Declaration at the end of the First African Climate Summit. The declaration, which had a heavy focus on climate finance, also included a call for global carbon taxes, and for increased representation of African and other countries in the governance of multilateral banks. Some African leaders believe that carbon markets will have enormous economic potential, and may increase the climate funds available to the continent. New York Times.
https://www.newyorktimes.com/2023/09/06/climate/africa-summit.html Search result position =9. At Africa's first climate summit, a clear call to the world, invest in us. The inaugural summit in Kenya's capital, attended by tens of thousands, was imbued with frustration at Western financial institutions. Delegates to the African Climate Summit outside the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi on Monday. Reporting from the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi, Kenya. September 6, 2023. ROZEP view of 7 issues at the first African Climate Summit. Leaders of many African nations did not attend. A large fossil fuel extractor was one of the nations making the largest pledges to Africa. The United States and the World Bank were moving toward making large pledges to Africa. 1. Because of coups and unrest, many African country representatives did not attend. The summit's message of unity was undercut when top leaders from some of Africa's largest economies, including Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, and Egypt, didn't attend. Leaders from countries that recently experienced coups, or unrest, like Sudan, Niger, and Gabon, were also not present. The President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, also did not attend. 2. Your money or my, African, life. Move to renewables in Africa. In Kenya, Mr. Ruto said, more than 90% of electricity is renewable, largely from geothermal sources in the Great Rift Valley. But a leading Kenyan voice on environmental issues. Yes, we get most of our electricity from renewables. But we pay foreign companies to generate that power exorbitantly in foreign currency, he said. Manufacturing has become expensive, which drives inflation. As far as the lives of Kenyans are concerned, the source of energy is completely immaterial. Some African countries have long relied on renewable energy for most of their power generation. Kenya's currency has lost around a third of its value against the dollar over the past 2 years, and Mr. Ruto has raised taxes on gas and on small businesses that have deepened a cost-of-living crisis. More than 8 out of 10 Kenyans live on less than $5 a day, according to the World Bank. 3. Carbon markets. The tension underlying the summit was clear in speech after speech in which African leaders lamented the lack of urgency in fulfilling financing pledges. Members of the Turkana tribe protested outside the summit on Monday. 4. The Nairobi Declaration. Multinational lending institutions have long considered many African countries too risky for investments in infrastructure like renewable energy because of concerns about economic mismanagement and heavy debt loads, coupled with issues like corruption and conflict. The document, called the Nairobi Declaration, said it would serve as a basis for Africa's common position ahead of the United Nations-sponsored climate talks in Dubai later this year. Despite pledges in the past to infuse more than $100 billion in climate-related financing to the world's least developed countries, the wealthy world has fallen far short of those targets while plowing trillions of dollars into renewable energy in their own countries. 5. The United Arab Emirates made a large pledge to Africa. The United Arab Emirates, one of the world's main oil producers and host of the annual UN Climate Conference this year, made some of the largest commitments, including $4.5 billion toward clean energy and $450 million in carbon credits, though the fine print on the latter indicated it was a non-binding letter of intent. The UAE is seeking to recast itself as a renewable energy superpower.
At the heart of the attendees' request to the world was concessional finance, essentially, loans at below-market interest rates and with more lenient timelines for repayment. 6. The United States. As recently as 8 months ago, it was still a debate on the World Bank Board as to whether climate investments were a trade-off with economic development, said a senior U.S. Treasury official. The official said that nearly $50 billion in funding that could go toward concessional finance from the United States via multilateral development banks was pending congressional approval. President Biden has said he wants Congress to earmark more than $11 billion for climate aid, but he managed to get only $1 billion in the last budget. 7. The World Bank. The U.S. Treasury official and others with experience working in lending institutions like the World Bank pointed to the recent change of leadership at the World Bank as a likely accelerator toward releasing hundreds of billions of dollars in climate-positive investments in the world's lesser-developed countries. The reason multilateral development banks were created was to take on these kind of risks, global ones, said the head of the Bezos Earth Fund, a philanthropy founded by Jeff Bezos. Instead, they became ever more cautious about protecting their credit ratings. That trend has finally begun to reverse. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. The summit drew tens of thousands of delegates from around the world to East Africa's commercial hub, Nairobi, Kenya. Its events had the feel of a trade fair, except that the main audience was banks, private equity firms, philanthropies, and donor governments. Huge amounts of concessional finance could in the near future come from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, among other large lenders. Akinwumi Adesina, president of the African Development Bank, spoke on Tuesday. Other environmental issues. Wildfires in Canada. Hot, dry and gusty conditions like those that fed this year's wildfires in eastern Canada are now at least twice as likely to occur there as they would be in a world that humans hadn't warmed by burning fossil fuels, a team of researchers said, providing a first scientific assessment of climate change's role in intensifying the country's fires. EU farmers. To meet climate goals, some European countries are asking farmers to reduce livestock, relocate or shut down, and an angry backlash has begun reshaping the political landscape. The discontent has underscored a widening divide on a continent that is committed to acting on climate change but is often divided about how to do it and who should pay for it. Tight limits on drilling in Alaska. In its most aggressive move yet to protect federal land from oil and gas exploration, the Biden administration announced that it would prohibit drilling in 13 million acres of pristine wilderness in the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska and cancel Trump-era drilling leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Geothermal energy. An ambitious effort is underway to unlock vast amounts of geothermal energy from Earth's hot interior, a source of renewable power that could help displace fossil fuels that are dangerously warming the planet. Some are trying to unlock it by using techniques from the fracking boom. Photos: flooding in Brazil leaves at least 31 dead and 2,300 homeless. Biden administration cancels oil and gas leases in Arctic Wildlife Refuge. Photos: fierce storm in southern Brazil kills at least 27. Photos: heavy rainstorms trigger flooding in Greece, Turkey, Bulgaria. Rozep view: Rotorua, New Zealand halved early deaths from air pollution by employing infrared cameras to detect illegal wood burners. New Zealand, Rotorua. How Rotorua halved early deaths from air pollution. RNZ News. RNZ. Infrared cameras are used to detect illegal wood burners in Rotorua as part of its efforts to. Wood smoke is about 90% the latter. Wood burners in Rotorua were the main source of the pollution. These have been targeted in a years-long crackdown that involved incentivizing people to switch to cleaner heating options, phasing out some burners and using heat-seeking technology to smoke out rule breakers. United Kingdom, Oxford. Rozep view. This article from the Oxford Mail led with a headline of the conservative argument against regulation of wood stoves, wood burner proposal to hit poorer households. Subsidies for cleaner energy exist in the United Kingdom, so this conservative argument doesn't hold water. There are plans to revoke existing 23 smoke control orders and replace them with a single smoke control order. This may remove the confusing boondoggle mess of rules that wood burners have profited from in the past. It may also be less confusing to separate the councillor's view by pro-wood burning regulation or pro-polluting wood burner. 1. For indoor residential wood stove regulation and shutdown of polluting wood burning, and therefore for the health of near neighbours of indoor residential wood burners in Oxford. Labour City Councillor and Cabinet Member for Zero Carbon Oxford and Climate Justice, Anna Railton, who said, although less than 10% of households in the UK have wood-burning stoves, government data shows that these stoves release more small particles than all the vehicles on all of the roads in the UK. City Councillor Anna Railton of the Oxford City Council said, growing evidence showed that breathing fine particulates can lead to asthma, lung cancer and dementia. Ms. Railton wants a smoke control area and greater restrictions on wood burners to go further than exclusively Oxford, and called for the government to introduce a single smoke control area across the whole country. These facts were so basically true, and have been proven so many times, that these facts didn't make it as a headline for this news article. 2. Pro-wood burning, and therefore pro-continued pollution in Oxford. Wood stoves in the United Kingdom are often used by the wealthy as a fashion accessory, as the Conservative shadow member astutely pointed out, in a heartfelt moment. Like Scrooge at Christmastime, the Conservative member would like the poor, little people to breathe in toxins rather than provide the indigent with government subsidies for zero-carbon heat pumps that work at 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, heating appliances that are so efficient that they lower monthly heating bills immediately. He would rather have the poor serve as guinea pigs in the experiment of how long it will take them to develop asthma or lung cancer, because unbelievably, this is the only way for poor people to heat homes in the United Kingdom in 2023. From my cursory knowledge of Conservatives in the United Kingdom, Mr. Mallon would seem more likely to be an expensive champagne guzzler than Ms. Railton. Mr. Mallon's idea of a good neighbour is the neighbourhood bully wood burner who makes near neighbours breathe his wood smoke, in a situation without recourse, so that near neighbours have no way to complain and fix the problem. Who knows? In this case, the shadow doesn't know his way around community relations or know how to be a good neighbour. Good regulations are needed for Mr. Mallon and his ilk. To paraphrase Robert Frost, a Yank, good regulations make good neighbours. Conservative and the County Council's shadow member for Public Health and Inequalities, Kieran Mallon, accused Champagne socialists of increasing restrictions on burner appliances. This was the only way to heat homes for many people in Oxford. Mr. Mallon said, so-called liberals on the city council seek to ban these types of fires, which for many of them may seem a fashion accessory. But, to the poorer people of Oxford, they may be the only means of heating their homes throughout the winter. Mr. Mallon said it appeared to him that the enforcement of the restrictions would lead to a reliance on neighbours snooping on each other to look out for smoke coming out of the chimneys. He said, this can't be very good for neighbour and community relations. Oxford, wood burner proposal to hit poorer households. Oxford Mail. The City Council's proposed restrictions on householders using wood-burning stoves will hit the poorer people of Oxford, and will damage. Wood-burner proposal to hit poorer households. Oxford Mail. Oxford Mail. Oxford County Council plans to introduce a ban on wood-burner stoves, and a county councillor has argued this will hit the poorest households. Oxford, wood-burner proposal to hit poorer households. September 7, 2023. Local Government. Oxford. Politics Reporter. The City Council's proposed restrictions on householders using wood-burning stoves will hit the poorer people of Oxford, and will damage neighbor and community relations, a critic has argued. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. Oxford City Council will discuss new restrictions on wood-burning stoves next Wednesday, September 14, 2023, with the proposal setting out plans to revoke the existing 23 smoke control orders and to replace them with a single smoke control order. The proposed restrictions are aimed at reducing the risk of harmful emissions from the uncontrolled burning of solid fuels from open fireplaces and indoor burners. The council said the restrictions would be enforced if smoke from the chimney of a domestic or commercial building was seen, and this would lead to fines of between £175 and £300 being issued. Residents and businesses can only use approved burner appliances and authorized fuels, including many eco-fuels, fire logs and briquettes. In addition to this, the council spokesman said, those found to be selling or buying unauthorized fuel for use without an approved appliance in a smoke control area can face fines of up to £1,000. Bonfires and barbecues would not be affected by the proposal if approved, as they are not covered by smoke control areas. Houseboats will also qualify for an exemption. Delaware. Superbugs catch a ride on air pollution particles. Is that bad news for people? Delaware First Media. Delaware Public Media. Airborne fine particulate matter, we usually call it PM 2.5. This means if we can control PM 2.5, then we can have a twofold result, says. Ultimately, they say the Air Pollution Association accounts for some 12% of the increase during that time, adding up to 480,000 premature deaths and economic costs of $395 billion in 2018 alone. The analysis suggests that PM 2.5 is one of the leading factors driving clinical antibiotic resistance, says Chen. Utah, Tooele County. Hiking in a cloud, Tooele Transcript Bulletin. Tooele Transcript Bulletin. PM 2.5 is small particulate matter, like very small dust and soot particles, with diameters of 2.5 micrometers or smaller. A single strand of hair. Hiking in a cloud. August 2023, wet, cool, and ended with smoke. August ended as a wet, cool and smoky month for Tooele County. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. Tooele County residents woke up to a smoky morning as August drew to a close on Wednesday, August 30th. Tooele County's air quality rose to the orange level with the 24-hour average of micrograms per cubic meter, UG/M superscript 3, of PM 2.5 reaching 44.7 at 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning, August 30th. PM 2.5 is small particulate matter, like very small dust and soot particles, with diameters of 2.5 micrometers or smaller. A single strand of hair is about 70 micrometers in diameter or 30 times larger than a PM 2.5 particle. Exposure to PM 2.5 has been linked with not only irritation of airways, coughing and difficulty breathing, but also with non-fatal heart attacks, irregular heartbeat, aggravated asthma, decreased lung function and premature death in people with heart or lung disease, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The orange level is labeled as unhealthy for sensitive groups on the Division of Air Quality's Air Quality Index. The Division of Air Quality recommended that people with existing heart or respiratory ailments should reduce physical exertion and outdoor activity. Wednesday morning, August 30th was the first orange air quality level day for Tooele County since January 19, 2022, as recorded by the Utah Air Monitoring Program. However, by 4 p.m. on August 30th the PM 2.5 level in Tooele County dropped to 34 UG/M superscript 3, putting the county's air quality into the yellow level. World Air Pollution UNICEF Parenting. UNICEF. Don't burn candles or incense or use air fresheners that add toxic chemicals to the air. If possible, consider installing air purifiers with high. Outdoor and indoor air pollution are directly linked with respiratory infections and other diseases that account for almost 1 in 10 under 5 deaths. PM 2.5 and human health. Colorado, Pagosa. Prescribed burning planned for Pagosa Ranger District. The Pagosa Springs Sun. Smoke from wildfires and prescribed fires may affect your health. For more information, please go to https://www.colorado.gov/pacific/cdphe/wood-smoke. Michigan, Marquette. Firewood permits available through DNR Online News, Sports, Jobs, Daily Press. Daily Press. Get tips for safe and efficient wood burning from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's BurnWise program. For fuelwood collection in federally. Purchase permits online through DNR e-license or in person at select office locations. Fuelwood permits are for personal use, apply to one household and allow for gathering of up to 5 cords of wood. A cord of wood is 8 feet long, 4 feet wide and 4 feet high. Minnesota, Western Minnesota. Air quality alert still in effect for Western Minnesota through Thursday morning local news. VoiceOfAlexandria.com. Northwest winds will gradually clear the smoke from north to south, such as outdoor burning, and use of residential wood-burning devices. Missouri, Kansas City. Smelling almonds, cherries in Kansas City region? Here's what to blame. Fox 4 Kansas City WDAF-TV. She said the smoke is carrying the chemical smell, heavy on the almonds. Some organic compounds which are emitted from wood combustion. Missouri, Kansas City. Wildfire smoke seen in radar over Kansas City, YouTube. YouTube. Wildfire smoke seen in radar over Kansas City. Subscribe to KMBC on YouTube now for more. http://bit.ly/1fxgvrh. Get more. Canada, Northwest Territories, Fort Smith, Wood Buffalo wildfire. Firefighters working on trigger point before residents can return to Fort Smith, NWT, CBC. CBC. A firefighter in smoke in the forest. A firefighter working on the Wood Buffalo wildfire complex. The complex has grown to nearly 473,000 hectares. Australia, Melbourne, Monash University. Clean air for blue skies, medicine, nursing and health sciences, Monash University. Monash University. We modeled the global PM 2.5 arising from bushfires between 2000 and 2019, demonstrating an increase in concentration and a disproportionate impact. PM 2.5 and human health. Europe. Nearly everyone in Europe breathing bad air. The Daily Star. The Daily Star. Our analysis shows that the most polluted regions in Europe reach annual average PM 2.5 concentrations of about 25 micrograms per cubic meter. Europe. Air pollution, nearly everyone in Europe breathing bad air, DW. DW. Fine particulate matter is a combination of very small solid and liquid. The daily PM 2.5 average concentration in cities such as Milan. Prenatal ambient air pollution exposure and child weight trajectories from the third trimester of BMC Medicine, Biomed Central. Nitrogen dioxide, NO2, particulate matter less than 10 m, PM10, particulate matter less than 2.5 m, PM2.5, and ozone, O3, concentrations during pregnancy were PM 2.5 and human health. The world can now breathe easier, but there's still room to improve IFL science. IFL Science. The researchers' focus was on ambient fine particulate matter, or PM2.5, tiny particles that are 2.5 micrometers or smaller across that have. A letter sent on August 28, 2023 to the Assistant Attorney Generals threatening to sue the EPA over wood stove certification follows. Dear Assistant Attorney General, attached is a letter that was sent to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, Director Dr. Jean Marazzo, former acting NIAID Director Dr. Hugh Auchincloss and National Institutes of Health, NIH. Director Dr. Lawrence Tabak regarding regulation and the ability to shut down PM2.5 polluting indoor residential wood burners. PM2.5 pollution is known to cause antibiotic resistance, making infectious disease pandemics more likely and uncontrollable. The letter asks Dr. Marazzo to apply a parallel track to indoor residential wood burning pollution in 2023. This parallel track would include both EPA wood stove certification and a complaint-based system using Purple Air PM2.5 monitor data collected from the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. This would be a way to address the very real impact of PM2.5 pollution which EPA wood stove certification fails to address. We proposed that the use of Purple Air monitors would provide important data on PM2.5 air pollution that is currently missing in the EPA wood stove certification. This proposal is modeled on the approach Dr. Anthony Fauci used in 1989 that allowed a parallel track of both the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, use of AZT for AIDS that had the unfortunate side effect of blindness along with a second drug, ganciclovir, that actually cured the blindness. An earlier letter sent to your office asked that you include a complaint-based system of regulating indoor residential wood burning using Purple Air PM2.5 data in your suit against the EPA. Indoor residential wood burners are already ineffectively certified by the EPA. This violates the EPA's own National Ambient Air Quality Standards, NOx, emission limits of 35 micrograms per cubic meter in a 24-hour period. Using data from Purple Air PM2.5 monitors in the yards of near neighbors who complain of PM2.5 from hyperlocalized indoor residential wood burners would provide the missing and important evidence of this type of air pollution. Currently, if a near neighbor's complaint is made to a local health department, a complaint using federal NOx exceedance data is not considered as a basis for a complaint against neighboring indoor residential wood burning. It is also not considered as a basis for shutting down the wood burning appliance when the indoor residential wood stove has been federally EPA certified. Lawsuits for nuisance are expensive and beyond the means of the average American and are not considered precedents in courts generally. Contacting state agencies to shut down polluting wood stove use that affects the health and lives of near neighbors has been unproductive because decisions made by the EPA determine the decisions made by state agencies. Although the scope of your lawsuit seems confined to asking the EPA to continue their wood stove certification program as is, albeit at a faster pace, we ask that you consider the intent behind asking the EPA to tighten their standards for wood stove certification on a regular basis. The intent of an environmental protection agency is to protect the environment. This has perhaps been narrowly construed to be protecting air, water and ground from contamination from industries only. But United States citizens should actually benefit from this environmental protection as well. Tightening wood stove standards on a regular basis should result in protecting the environment as well as protecting United States citizens from harm from the air, water, and ground. We believe that the EPA's responsibilities are inextricably connected with public health responsibilities of other government agencies such as NIAID. Please try to accomplish something meaningful for the American people with this lawsuit by considering using a parallel track to include PM2.5 data in future decisions about air quality standards. Although I am not your constituent, by commencing to sue a federal agency you are representing me as a citizen of the United States and in that sense as your constituent. Thank you. Sent to Cody.Doig at alaska.gov. Alaska Senior Assistant Attorney General Cody Doig. Jason.James at ilag.gov. Illinois Assistant Attorney General Jason James. Skoldstein at oag.state.md.us. Maryland Special Assistant Attorney General Stephen Goldstein. Turner.Smith at mass.gov. Massachusetts Assistant Attorney General Turner Smith. Peter.Serdo at ag.state.mn.us. Minnesota Special Assistant Attorney General Peter Serdo. Lisa.Morelli at law.njoag.gov. New Jersey Deputy Attorney General Lisa Morelli. Nicholas.Batino at ag.newyork.gov. New York Assistant Attorney General Nicholas Batino. Paul.Garahan at doj.state.or.us. Oregon Attorney in Charge Paul Garahan. Steve.Novick at doj.state.or.us. Oregon Special Assistant Attorney General Steve Novick. Nick.Persumpieri at vermont.gov. Vermont Assistant Attorney General Nick Persumpieri. Caroline.Kress at atg.wa.gov. Washington Assistant Attorney General Caroline Kress. Chris.Wrights at atg.wa.gov. Washington Assistant Attorney General Chris Wrights. Jennifer.Scleenair.gov. General Counsel, Puget Sound Clean Air Agency Jennifer A. Dold. Jean.Marazzo at nih.gov. Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Jean Marazzo. Hugh.Auchincloss at nih.gov. January to July 2023 Acting Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Hugh Auchincloss. Lawrence.Tabak at nih.gov. Director of the National Institutes of Health Lawrence Tabak. https://ROSC Presidentes WordPress.com/ Please attach PDF letter to NAID Director Dr. Jean Marazzo to an email from you to Jean Marazzo NIH.gov/. Episode 56 GF July 19, 2023. The Ask, request a complaint-based system from 10 attorney generals suing the EPA to give wood stove users certainty. The Ask, emails of 3 NIH officials Jean.Marazzo at nih.gov, Hugh.Auchincloss at nih.gov, Lawrence.Tabak at nih.gov. Emails of 13 assistant attorney generals, deputy attorney generals and general counsel preparing to sue the EPA to provide clarity for indoor residential wood stove manufacturers, vendors, and users. Instead, the Assistant Attorneys General should ask for a PM 2.5 pollution complaint-based system in place of the failed wood stove certification program. The states involved are Alaska, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, as well as the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency. A new icon has been added to the RAWSE President's website, which is now the nearest right icon. The icon is an ask that has already been described in episode 56 GB, description of the parties who should be at the table when deciding on safe wood stove emission limits and fence line measurements, rather than wood stove certification, and emails to contact 10 deputy or assistant attorney generals and 1 general counsel. Those PDFs are included at the icon link. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, see https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com and click on the nearest right icon for the Ask. 1. Email PDF letters to 3 officials of the National Institutes of Health, NIH. And NIAID https://rossipresidentes.wordpress.com/ Please attach PDF letter to NIAID Director Dr. Jean Marazzo to an email from you to Jean Marazzo NIH.gov/ The Ask 2. Email PDF letters to 13 Assistant Attorneys Generals, Deputy Attorney Generals and General Counsel https:// Rossi Presidentes WordPress.com/ Please contact Attorneys General about August suit versus EPA asking for certainty for wood stove users. ROSEP asks for complaint-based system based on PM monitor data exceeding EP/ to the right of that 3. Barbie goes to the dating game. https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/1-barbie-goes- to the dating game to the right of that 4. Cookies that may contain rocks are recalled. https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/cookies that may contain rocks are recalled. To the right of that 5, The Fox Owns the Forest, card game. https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/the-fox-owns-the-forest-card-game-tba. Then to the right of that, the latest months, 6, September and 7, August and 8, July 2023. Of PDFs of articles with URLs to search on https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/1-September-2023-PDFs-of-URLs https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/1-August-2023-PDFs-of-URLs and https://rossipresidents.wordpress.com/1-July-2023-PDFs-of-URLs to the right. Of that, 9, stickers to handout for ROSEP, 10, flyers to handout for ROSEP, games such as 11, bingo for ROSEP, 12, crosswords for ROSEP, 13, PM 2.5's Jeopardy free game. https://youtube.be/lnsg32pydnc 14. PM 2.5 free Monopoly. https://youtube.be/cuck1pseqnq and Endwood Smoke Monopoly 9e, vending machines for PM 2.5 monitors, and 15, icon links to 30-minute YouTube videos and Spotify podcasts as well as podcasts.google.com, Castbox, and Pocketcast. Pocketcast is only free on the phone app. Pocket Cast works on Apple phones, and, below those icons, icon links to monthly URLs of PDFs from June 2023 to May 2022.